Coming up in today's Leeds news, academy results, man arrested for racial abuse towards Ampadu and Ramazani, Pablo Hernandez job promotion, Cresswell sell-on and PSR position, and cash windfall for clubs. Hey folks, welcome back to the Leeds View for Wednesday morning, the 17th of September with your Leeds United news. Hope you're all having a really good week so far. There's a bit of stuff to get stuck in, lots of financial news floating around that could benefit Leeds United. But I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who commented and liked the video yesterday. It did help, and it'll continue to help over the next couple of weeks as well. If you could continue to do that, it's very much appreciated. Also, we had a bit of an interview with Andy Cousins last night looking at what goes on behind the scenes at the Leeds United under-21s, their start to the season, and a very impressive result last night, as well as what goes on when players are being told they move on from the club, as well as a potential advocating for the return of reserve team football. You can check that out on the channel. It's a slightly longer one, but you can check it out if you want to. But we'll move on now, and we'll start with the academy results this week. And Leeds United under-18s had a 5-3 win against Everton over the weekend. Goals in that game came from Jack Morris, Will Firth, Aidan Thompson, and 2 from Logan White, who will pop up again in a few minutes. Leeds under-17s are in action today against Sunderland at the Sunderland Academy of Light. That game kicks off at 12 o'clock lunchtime. And Leeds under-21s beat Scunthorpe in the National League Cup last night in a 3-1 away win, and a very impressive performance by lots of players in that. Harry Gray, the standout, with a hat-trick and 2 excellent individual goals for him. Gray opened the scoring for the under-21s in the first half. A lovely counter-attacking move from Leeds straight through the middle of Scunthorpe to the right-hand side for Reece Chadwick, who squares the ball for an easy tap-in for Gray to get off the mark. Scunthorpe did equalise though just after half time, but in the last 15 minutes Leeds and Harry Gray came alive. Gray's second goal came from a very well struck free kick on the left hand side that went over the wall, over the keeper, and into the far corner of the net. And his third goal was very much a standout goal, picking the ball up inside the halfway line and running into space before getting to the edge of the box and firing into the bottom left hand corner. An excellent result for Scott Gardner's side last night, and some standout performances in that game outside of just Harry Gray, but very good performance by Harry. The decision to keep Harry Gray in the under-21s right now is paying dividends. It is working. His confidence is high. He's playing lots of minutes. He's getting lots of goals. We talked about it last night with Andy Cousins as well, about the benefit of keeping him there. There will be clamour. A lot of people wanting him in the first team squad, but he'll likely just sit on the bench and get the odd couple of minutes. This is far more beneficial at this point in his career. The club, for me, is making the right decisions with this one, and we'll see how it goes. But it keeps going the way he's going, it won't be long before he is very much knocking on the door of the first team, if not already. And as I said, if you want to check out more information on what goes on behind the scenes here on 21s, check out last night's interview with Andy Cousins around that one. But we'll move on to a slightly more darker story. And a 66-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of directing alleged racial abuse at Leeds United captain Ethan Ampadu and Largi Ramazani, which came from the away end after Sunderland's clash with Leeds at Ellen Road last season. The suspect is from Bishop Auckland in Durham and is alleged to have caused racially aggravated harassment, alarm or distress to Ethan as well as Largi Ramazani as they left the pitch. The man will appear at Leeds Magistrates Court on Friday, October 17th, and the club and local police have both supported both players during this time, and hopefully it hasn't caused too much stress for Ethan and Largi. It's something that just shouldn't be happening anymore, but it is still there, and we'll have to move on. We'll talk about Pablo Hernandez next. And Pablo's managerial career is going from strength to strength. Pablo took his first job in management last season when he took over Castellon's B side in the 4th tier of the Spanish League, and he won the title in his very first year. And this season was only 2 games old when Castellon made the decision to sack their current first team manager and promote Pablo to the first team managerial job on an interim basis, which will see him jump 2 divisions between last season and this season into Spain's 2nd tier. Although the job is only on a caretaker basis, we wish Pablo nothing but success, and I think we all kind of hope that this goes really well for him and he manages to find his way back to Leeds United in a managerial coaching capacity at some point in the future. But we wish him nothing but success in this role, and maybe it becomes more permanent if all goes well with the Castellon first team over the next couple of weeks as well. It's an interesting move for him. It's a great opportunity for him if he can sort out their form. Maybe he keeps the job and that puts him in the 2nd tier of Spanish football, puts him very much in the shop window for potential future managers' jobs as well, and hopefully all continues to go well for Pablo. Wish him all the best. Let's move on and talk about cash windfall and the PSR position for Leeds United right now. And Leeds have said that the club maxed out their PSR this summer, meaning that if anyone is to come into the club in January, someone will need to be sold either in January or before the July 1st PSR closing date. The other option and the hope is that a sell-on clause that was put in Charlie Cresswell's deal, or the option to buy in Isaac Schmidt, Max Weber's contracts, which expire on the 30th of June, the day before that PSR window closes, could all be actioned by then. Leeds sold Charlie Cresswell to Toulouse for an estimated £3.8 million, but they put a 15% sell-on clause in his deal, and the former Leeds United centre-back had plenty of Premier League interest in him over the course of this summer, but the player is said to have opted to stay in France to continue his development and his form. At this point, the reports at the time stated that Toulouse valued Charlie Cresswell in and around the £17 million price range. So if a January move was to happen, with that being said, Leeds would receive in and around £2.5 million. Darko JB also left the club for Hull City on a free transfer, but Leeds have a 50% sell-on clause with him, as well as Diego Monteiro, who joined FC Arouca, and he also has a hefty sell-on clause in his deal. Now, both of those players are unlikely to move before that 30th of June date, but it would give Leeds some money at least some point down the road if their careers take off. Leeds could realistically negotiate the sales of Isaac Schmidt and Max Weber come January with Werder Bremen, if all is going well for them. But if Leeds were to instigate it, they might take a slight haircut on the initial price tags, unless Werder Bremen are the ones that instigate the move, and that will give Leeds some money and some PSR wiggle room come January. The other more likely option is that Leeds will move for somebody in January and then try and sell someone before the 30th of June PSR closing date, whether that be one of the loan players that are out there by that stage, or maybe if Charlie Cresswell does move on at that point, you never know. But Charlie Cresswell is more likely to move on next summer, and if his performances and his form and the trajectory of his career keep going the way it's going, then he could be going for a lot more than £17 million, which is not great for Leeds for what we sold him for, but it would mean Leeds would get a financial kickback that could definitely help the club in the current PSR environment. But we'll keep an eye on all of that over the course of this season. Let's move on top of the final story of today, and it's another potential cash windfall for Leeds United, but this time coming from FIFA. And no one is going to say no to money being given to clubs by FIFA after all the international pain they put us through with the amount of international breaks we have to tolerate over the course of a football season. But Leeds, along with a huge number of clubs, could be about to be in for a cash windfall after a new compensation package for FIFA was proposed. Under the new proposal, clubs would receive a percentage of a £260 million pot for releasing players to play at the international matches, as well as a World Cup. For the very first time, Leeds and others would receive compensation for allowing their players to go and play in World Cup qualifiers as well as World Cups themselves, and they would still get the money even if the sides and the players didn't qualify for the World Cup. Currently, no official breakdown has been shared, but it is believed to be roughly in and around £9,000 per player per day. So, and for example, the Yorkshire Evening Post have done some calculations on this, and they estimate that Manchester City would receive about £3.5 million per window, where Bournemouth would receive about 300,000 based on the amount of international players that go away each international break. During the last international break, Leeds had 5 players away on international duty, but you could definitely add out Tanaka and Dan James to that on a more regular situation, which would see Leeds with 7 players away for roughly about 8 days per international break. And that would see Leeds getting around about £500,000 per international break based on that number. Anyone going away for a World Cup for the summer would likely be away for an awful lot longer, so that fee would increase for those players, so more money in the pot for Leeds United. It's not a huge sum of money, but it is money coming in that will offset the wages that the clubs have to pay, because international bodies don't pay for those players, and I don't think any club will say no to getting financially compensated for that. There's the injury risk as well when players go away, and it's leggy, tired players coming back to their clubs with very little turnaround time before matches as well. So if the club can get any financial gain from that, it would be beneficial. And as I say, if you're getting £500,000 per international break, it does offset some of the wages, at least for some of those players, and has some benefit. Not massive, but some. And again, in the PSR world, the more you can shave off your expenditure, the better it is for you moving forward. So very much one that Leeds will happily put the cap out and take the money from FIFA in that situation. Folks, we'll be back tonight about 7 o'clock for the podcast. Myself and Paul Brooker having a chat about the week in general for Leeds United. You can check out the Andy Cousins interview if you want it as well. And it is genuinely insightful interview, just lots of bits and pieces in there I didn't know about that are worth checking out, including George Graham in a shower and how he delivered the news to Andy Cousins about the end of his time at Leeds United. It's definitely worth checking out. Outside of that, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning for Leeds news. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, for hitting the like button, for hitting the hype button, for hitting all the buttons. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. See ya.